Well, folks, it's that time of year again, what we call application season. Right out of the gate is always Wyoming elk. It has a due date, normally a January 31st. I don't know why they changed it this year to February 1st, but they did. So don't miss the deadline. That's always the first thing we say is don't miss the deadline, at least if you want to apply. If you miss the deadline, you can still buy a point in Wyoming for all species starting usually July 1st. And for elk, it's 50 bucks. I would say Wyoming elk is one of the most popular species that people apply for. And a lot of the information I'm looking at here on my computer, you can get at GoHunt. And that's who asked us to do these videos. They're like, hey guys, can you make sure people know of these deadlines, know an overview of the system, and if they're interested, we'll fill them in on all the details. And to get filled in on way more details than I'm going to give you, you can go to the GoHunt website, gohunt.com, and sign up for the Insider, and use promo code Randy if you do, because it's going to get you a $50 gift card. Where to start with Wyoming? We're gonna use a few diagrams here because it's a little bit complicated how they do it. They have a pool of non-resident tags, and here's statutorily. Wyoming says by law they have to issue 7,250 non-resident elk tags. So you take this pool of 7,250 elk tags, and some of them are general tags, and then some of them are the limited entry tags. And the limited entry tags are the ones most of us get pretty excited about, but they take a lot of points. So the very first thing, how they allocate that is they say, all right, 16%, which is a pretty generous number compared to my home state of Montana. We only give non-residents up to 10%. So 16% of the limited entry tags are first allocated to non-residents. And let's say that comes to 1,250 tags. Well, that means the other 6,000 to get to this total of 7,250 are going to be general tags. I don't know what that number breaks out to be, but that's how the system works. It's how the mechanics of it happen. So once they decide, all right, here's how many non-resident tags we have, then they break it out into two different pools. They have what's called the regular pool and the special pool. And it's the same exact tag. It's just that if you go into the special pool, you pay about $575 extra to be in that pool, and you get a little bit better drawing odds. Not always though. There's some times where the drawing odds in the regular draw are as good or better than the special draw. So don't blow your money on the special draw if it's not worth the increase in what your draw odds probability are. And whenever we get into these the state-by-state videos, we're always looking at the draw odds out on GoHunt. They're the best draw odds out there, so if you're a member, you'll be able to get what I'm looking at right here. So once this split is made between the special and regular, and here's how it works. 60% of the tags go in the regular draw, 40% of the tags go in the special draw. So even though there's fewer percentage of tags in the special draw, just using pricing, they've created higher draw odds, which personally I don't agree with that, but that's how Wyoming does it. Now let's say there's 100 tags total. 60 of those tags go in the regular draw, 40 of them go in the special draw. Now once we go to each of those draws, the 60 that went in the regular draw, they allocate that again once you get there. Wyoming has a preference point system where 75% of these 60 tags, or 45 of them, will be issued based on preference points. The other remaining 25%, or 15 of the tags, are going to be issued just randomly. And then they do the same thing over here in the special draw. 75% of that 40 tags, or in this case 30, will be allocated based on preference point system. The other 25%, or 10 tags in that pool, are going to be done according to just a random draw. So remember back when we talked about the basics of these systems, a preference point system is the applicant with the most points gets the tag. So if you've got 10 points, I've got 7, they're going to go to you before they ever get to me, and they're going to work their way down until all the tags are gone. Say you get one at 10, 2 people get a tag at 9 points, and 7 people get a tag at 8 points, and all the tags are gone. That means nobody below 8 points is going to get a tag. That's how a preference point system works. He or she with the most points gets the tag. So 75% of the tags in each pool are going to be allocated based on that preference point system. We've done some videos, we've done some podcasts about this thing called point creep. And this is where I want you to pay attention, because so many people look at last year's draw odds, which is really helpful, and they say, oh, I should draw this year. Well, Wyoming has 124,000 non-residents in their point system. And a lot of those people have really high point numbers. And they're just over there buying points, buying points. They don't even apply by the January deadline. They just buy points over there. And there's a big stack of these people. So what happens is you look at a unit and you say, wow, I should draw this year. Last year it took 9 points. This year I've got 10, I should draw. Well, a bunch of these people who are buying points over here, and I think the maximum this year is 15, there's a bunch of people with 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 points. They look at that same information, and someone with 13 points jumps in there along with 2 other applicants, and they take all the tags. We call that point creep. What I'm saying is pay attention to how many people are over here buying points, so that you don't get all excited that, oh, this is the year I'm going to draw, because you may not. I'm looking at some units last year that if you look at the draw results, it's like, well, if you followed the prior year's applications, you would have thought, oh, they could have drawn with 7 points. Well, last year, a bunch of people with 8 and 9 points jumped in and took all the tags. So that happens in a preference point state like Wyoming. But you still have your chance in the 25% random draw. I have 0 points this year. I drew a general tag last year. So for me, I'm just looking at, all right, which of these units in the random draw have the best opportunity that I might draw? And that's what I'm going to apply for. So there's some strategy to how you do this. Just know that Wyoming is a pretty expensive place to apply. If you apply for the regular elk tag, it's $707. But then you have an application fee on top of that, which is non-refundable. And you have a 2.5% transaction fee on top of all that, that is non-refundable. You go over here in the special draw, it's $1,213 plus your application fee, plus your 2.5% transaction fee. So you don't get your transaction fee or your application fee back. And you got to front all that money. And we don't find out about it until sometime in mid-May. So for a lot of folks, if you apply for Wyoming elk, the fact that you have to front all that money, that could be the majority of your application budget. So invest it wisely, I guess is the point that I'm trying to make. The other thing you want to think about is that in Wyoming, you don't have to apply. And when you buy a point later in the year, it's $50 plus the transaction fee. Now, one of the beauties of Wyoming is that in most units, not all, but most units, the units in the Bighorn Mountains are an exception to this rule. Just about all of those are an exception, and there's a few others. But if you draw a tag, in most units, you can come and hunt the archery season, which is September 1st through September 30th. And if you don't harvest during that period, you can come back during the rifle season. That's pretty cool. All you gotta do is buy the archery stamp, which I'm trying to remember how much it is. It's 25 bucks or something like that. And that's a lot of opportunity when you think about it. I could come anytime in the month of September, and then I can come back, whether my tag is in October or November, and make a go of it. That's a huge appeal to Wyoming. Add on top of that the fact that they manage their elk very well. There's a ton of public land. In pretty much every one of the really good units, you might be thinking, oh boy, I'd love to have that tag. every one of those units, access to elk is not going to be your biggest challenge. They have a really great combination of age class, of public land, and high success rates, and high bull to cow ratios, which is part of what leads to those high success rates. So for those tags that I talked about where you can't do both archery and rifle, those are type 9 tags. So any unit that has type 1 tags and type 9 tags, I think of the bighorns when I think about this. You can't do what I said about double dipping the archery season and the rifle season. You got to pick one or the other. But either of them are great tags, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. One of the things you'll see in Wyoming, they have type 1, type 2, type 4, type 6, type 9. All of those have different meanings. Type 1 and type 2 are usually your rifle tags, and the type 1 is the earlier, and type 2 are usually November late migration type hunts or just later season hunts. So one of the things you're going to see is Wyoming has the biggest pool of their tags is called general, G-E-N. So when you look at your applications and you look at last year's draw odds, the biggest pool of tags, whether it's in the regular draw or the special draw, is the general tag, G-E-N. And that's a tag that residents can just go buy over the counter. But we non-residents, we got to put into the draw to get one of those tags. And if you get it, it's a lot of really good elk hunting on that general tag. And depending on which pool you put into, you can draw it with 1 to 3 points. And it's really, really good. And a lot of those, pretty much all of those general units are open to the September archery season and then come back in the rifle season. Most of those general units have staggered dates for the opening of the rifle seasons. Some of the real backcountry stuff opens in late September, some of it in early October, some of it in mid-October. But that general tag is a huge amount of opportunity, and you can draw every second year, every third year. And maybe you'll draw in the random draw, and you'll draw. I know some people who've drawn 5 or 6 years in a row just in the random part of each draw. They're lucky. But that general tag is something you should really look at. Now, you can't talk about Wyoming without talking about the wilderness rule, at least for us non-residents. So in Wyoming, a federally designated wilderness area, which I get a lot of emails where people are like, well, man, that's the whole state. No, we're not talking about national forest. We're talking about federally designated wilderness under the Wilderness Act of 1964. Within those areas, you need to hire an outfitter or you have to have a Wyoming resident who offers to be your unpaid guide and go with you. So that's the only way we as non-residents can hunt these federally designated wilderness areas. Now, wilderness study areas, that doesn't apply. National forest that's non-wilderness, that doesn't apply. BLM that's non-wilderness, it doesn't apply. And a lot of people get really worked up about that. And they'll email me like, Newberg, why aren't you all fired up about Wyoming? Well, for right now anyhow, even though there's legislation at times to change this, Wyoming's really generous to us non-residents. We get 25% of the moose, goat, and sheep tags. We get 16% of the limited entry elk tags, and then a whole bunch more of general elk tags. If Wyoming wants to keep being that generous, it's like, all right, I'll not get too worked up about the Wyoming rule on wilderness areas. One of the things we always tell people, go to the state we're talking about, in this case, Wyoming, and download the regulations for application. The Wyoming Fish and Game website has a ton of really good information. You'll see there's a tab called Public Access. When you click on that, it'll talk about 2 public access programs. One is the walk-in hunting program, which is kind of what it sounds like. You park and you go walk in. It's private land, sometimes it's checkerboard of private and public, where you just go to a parking spot and off you go. It's walk-in only. And then there's another thing called HMAs, or hunter management areas. And with the hunter management areas, you actually have to apply for one of the slots. And usually it's sometime in July is the deadline, and they turn it around really quick. But what this is Wyoming Game and Fish is paying landowners to open their ranches, whether it's the landlocked public land within that ranch or the deeded land of that ranch, and allows for public hunting. And it's really good hunting. Both the walk-in and the HMAs are really good programs. So if you feel like it, every year when I get done with my application, it says, do you want to make a donation to this program? I do, because it's that good of a program. I want to see it continue. I want to see it expand. But in addition to having, trying to remember the number, I think BLM and Forest Service combined is like 24 or 25 million acres in Wyoming. In addition to all that, then you've got these walk-in hunting areas in these HMAs, or hunter management areas. Take advantage of those. And when you go out to the Wyoming Game and Fish website, download all the stuff that you need. If you want it all at your fingertips, I mean, like right there, along with a really great strategy article about each of the species and how to apply for them in Wyoming, go sign up on the Insider. They'll give you way more details than what I've got here. And when you sign up at the Go Hunt Insider, use promo code Randy and they'll give you a $50 gift card. But mostly, don't miss the deadline. This year, the deadline's February 1st. Don't mess around. And here's the way I approach it. I know I don't have enough points to draw some of the better units. And so some people say, well, I don't have enough points. I'm just going to wait and I'll buy a point in July. Well, if you have the money and you can front the money and still do your other applications, go into that 25% random draw, because you never know when you're going to draw. In our office, we got one really lucky guy, Michael. The guy draws all the hard tags, and he draws them in the random draw. So it's like buying a raffle ticket for the cost of your transaction fee and your application fee. That's really what it comes down to. And every year, some people we know or someone in this office draws a random tag in that 25% pool. So don't just give up on Wyoming because you don't have a whole sack full of points. Apply anyhow if you can afford it. So that's Wyoming in a nutshell. If you want more detail, like I said, go to the Go Hunt Insider and sign up, and you have all the great draw odds. Now you have 3D maps, you have all the stuff. And it's right there at your fingertips. Thanks for watching. Good luck if you apply, and stay tuned, because the next video we're going to do is Arizona, and then I think probably Utah, New Mexico. We're going to walk through all these states. We're going to give you the changes and updates of what's going on and what's new this year, things like that. So, appreciate you watching.